Welcome to the Top Business Leaders Show, powered by Rise 25 Media. We feature top founders, executives, and business leaders from all over the world.
Chad Franzen here, co-host for this show where we feature top restaurateurs, investors, and business leaders. This is part of our SpotOn Series. SpotOn has the best-in-class payment platform for retail, and they have a flagship solution called SpotOn Restaurant, where they combine marketing, software, and payments all in one. They've served everyone from larger chains like Dairy Queen and Subway to small mom-and-pop restaurants. To learn more, go to SpotOn.com. This episode is brought to you by Rise 25. We help B2B businesses to get ROI, clients, referrals, and strategic partnerships through Done For You podcast. If you have a B2B business and want to build great relationships with clients, referral partners, and thought leaders in your space, there's no better way to do it than through podcasts and content marketing. To learn more, go to rise25media.com or email us at support@rise25media.com. Jim Laube is founder and president of RestaurantOwner.com, a business management and leadership development resource for independent restaurant operators. He has a diverse restaurant career in operations, training, and senior management positions. During the 1980s and 90s, he practiced as a CPA and advisor and conducted training workshops for clients such as Disneyland, Vail Resort, Cisco Food Service, and the National Restaurant Association. He founded RestaurantOwner.com in 1998, and the online community has provided startup training and business resources to over 65,000 independent restaurant operators worldwide. Jim, thank you so much for joining me today. How are you?
Oh, my pleasure, Chad. Thank you very much. Appreciate being here.
So tell me a little bit about RestaurantOwner.com. Who would benefit from using it and why?
Well, people, we are totally targeted, as you mentioned in my introduction, to our target market is independent restaurant operators, people that own an existing independent restaurant or are thinking about getting into the restaurant business. So that is our focus. And why somebody would want to join RestaurantOwner.com is if you take a typical independent operator, many of them, not all of them, many of them, they know how to run a restaurant. They've been a chef. They know food and inside and out, but they don't know how to build or manage a business. And one of the things that we focus on is what are those skills and those disciplines that you have to follow to build a great business? Because if the business side of your restaurant isn't good, guess what? You're going to have cash flow problems. You're going to have problems staying in business. So one of our big focuses is teaching and showing people how to run the business side of the restaurant, P&Ls, cost control, inventory control. And so that's a big part of it. Another part of it is systems. What do we need to put in place so we can create a consistent high quality guest experience all the time, not just once in a while? And today it's also not just important to have a consistent high quality guest experience, but you need to have a consistent high quality employee experience as well, due to all the labor challenges that there are in the industry. And and then another part is there's really three key pillars to what we try to teach and give people resources for: systems, business skills, and then also leadership and culture. Because if you don't have a good, high quality culture, you may even be able to hire people, but you're not going to be able to keep them. So we believe that the number one way to solve, or at least be able to manage the labor challenges in the industry, is to have a high quality culture where people like hanging out, they like coming to work. There's good management. There is almost a sense of family, a sense of caring that causes people. It doesn't give people a reason to leave, for example. Okay, so that in a nutshell is what we try to provide for our members.
Okay, sounds great. How can you guys impact culture, or what do you when somebody comes to you who's new, maybe they have some great ideas for recipes or for menus or for whatever, what kind of impact can you guys have on culture?
Well, we try to teach basic leadership skills. Okay. And leadership skills, there's really three components. To be a good leader, first of all, you need to be professionally competent. You need to know how to run a restaurant. All right. So how do you manage a good shift, for example? Okay. you need to also you need to have high character. Okay, character is extremely important, especially to the younger folks today. Honesty, integrity. People want to work for somebody that has honesty and integrity. And also, there needs to be some aspect of caring. In other words, you're not just a cog in the wheel in my restaurant, but we respect you. We care about you from the standpoint of we want to see you grow and develop. Okay. We also have an interest in seeing that you have a good lifestyle as well. In other words, we have some flexibility with respect to schedule and things. Now, does that happen overnight? No, it doesn't happen overnight, but we try to teach in a stair-step methodology as to how do you develop an appropriate caring relationship with everybody on your team. So that in essence is kind of the foundation of building a positive culture.
RestaurantOwner.com, or some variation of it, has been around almost as long as the internet. What's some of your experience in restaurants?
Well, I was a restaurant manager early in my career. Early in my career, I was a bartender, a server, worked for a fast food restaurant when I was in high school. Essentially, earned my way through college as a bartender and a server, and then I went to work for a large public accounting firm. I graduated with an accounting degree. And after having all the fun I could stand for a couple of years, I decided to go work for one of my clients, which was a multi-unit barbecue chain in Houston, Texas. And I started out as the controller, became the chief financial officer, worked there for about 4 years, and then thought that I knew everything there was to know about managing restaurants. So I decided to open up my own accounting and consulting practice and did that for about 15 years.
Okay.
And most of my clients, Chad, were small independent restaurants.
Okay. So the internet is in its fairly new stages. How did restaurantowner.com come about then?
Well, I actually got into the seminar business, and I went around the country and would market these on my own. I did a 1-day class, and I gave continuing education credits to CPAs. I also marketed it to restaurant operators and people in institutional food service and country clubs and things of that nature. And I did a 1-day program on restaurant accounting and controls. I did that for about 4 years. Would do about 50 to 60 seminars a year. I would send out thousands of brochures. I would buy lists of CPAs, of restaurant operators and things of that nature. So I'd send out about 6,000 to 10,000 brochures to every city that I would go to. And so I did that for a few years. And then the internet started to percolate. We started raising a family at that time, and I was spending too much time on the road. So I said, I wonder what would happen if I put the content from my 8-hour course on the internet. And I got a telephone call from somebody after he had downloaded. He told me about 150 pages of content and spreadsheets and different forms I put up on the internet for free. He said, why aren't you charging for this? And I thought, well, that's an interesting idea. So I got my web designer to get a programmer, and we built kind of a makeshift membership site. And lo and behold, the first month I sold 20 memberships at $99 each, and put a little money in my pocket. And I said, well, maybe this has some potential. So that's how I got started. Yeah,
that sounds incredible. How did word get around about it?
Well, at that time, Chad, it was really easy because I didn't have any competition. I would show up in the top 2 or 3 or 5 at the most of the key search engine phrases for restaurant business plan, for restaurant checklist, for restaurant this or restaurant that. So I just organically got a lot of traffic from the search engines. Yeah.
How did you know how to put stuff on the internet at that time when it was so relatively new?
Well, I was very fortunate. I'll put it that way. It's what I had, and that's what I used. So It's just being fortunate, the right place at the right
Sure.
time, basically. Yeah.
So you talked about how you help independent restaurants and startups. For startups, what are some common elements that are often overlooked by folks who want to open their own restaurant? I'm sure there's you listed a long list of things that you help people with, but is there kind of some common things that are overlooked?
Yes, that's a great question, Chad. First of all, they underestimate how hard it's going to be. And one of the first things we do is we have a course, it's free to anybody, on restaurant reality. And we talk about the challenges of opening up your own restaurant. We talked about the survivability rate. We talk about what's often overlooked that people don't see in terms of the cost that it's going to take to get into the business. And then all the challenges that are going to come after it's open. It's hard enough to raise capital and start a restaurant, but it's even harder then once you're open to actually convert that restaurant into a profitable business enterprise. So what we do is we try to be honest and discourage people that are kind of on the fence, if you will. And we only want people that really are committed, and this is truly a passion, and they have the attitude that failure is not an option, if you will. All right. We find that if you have that type of attitude and you see your destiny is to open and have a successful restaurant, you've got to be a restaurant operator. That's the mindset we're looking for. Anybody else, we would rather that you not go into the restaurant business, because that's the source of bankruptcy, divorce. I mean, all sorts of problems can be as a result of people getting into the restaurant business that really shouldn't get into the restaurant business.
Sure. What about people who have started out, but then maybe they didn't totally realize what they're getting into, although they have some potential and they do have some passion, they just don't totally know what they're doing. Are there common things that are most often overlooked by people who are already in the business, but kind of have hit rocky waters?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. One of those is focusing totally on sales volume. In other words, you think that sales is going to solve all your problems. Well, not necessarily true, because there's thousands of ways to lose money in the restaurant business, from the standpoint of food and scheduling and just a mere theft, all kinds of things. So that's really where the business skills comes in. And that's where looking at your P&L, having a weekly report that tells you exactly where you're at, managing your cash flow, things of that nature. So looking totally at sales is one thing. In other words, just thinking if I'm busy, then I'm going to be successful, then I'm going to be profitable. Not necessarily the case. Okay. Another one is having a weak concept. In other words, trying to appeal to everybody. We find that operators that have a specific target market in mind, and many times it's the narrower the target market, the best. And having a very, not necessarily a concise, but a very consistent menu offering that really satisfies a specific need that's very distinct, that is done very, very well, high quality, consistently over and over again.
Can you give me an example? Maybe if you want to mention names, you can, but you certainly don't have to, of a client of yours that came to you kind of in the midst of panic or, really struggling, and maybe tell me the situation they were in at the time, some of the things you did and how they're doing now, if you can think of one.
Yeah. We have an operator in Los Angeles, and this is a real success story. This guy was actually in prison for armed robbery early in his life, and he actually had a religious conversion at some point, and he got out and he started selling tacos or sushi, Mexican sushi, on the side of the road in Los Angeles. He has a nephew that from Mexico that there was a chef for a Mexican sushi operation in Mexico, and he tasted the Mexican sushi while he was visiting him in LA, and he said, this is absolutely fabulous. People would love this. So they started selling it from a cart in LA, not knowing that you had to have a health permit. Well, they were open for about a week and then they got shut down. But it was long enough for them to get a sense that, man, people really like this. And they already generated some consistent customers would come back to their little cart. And so then what he did, and he didn't have a lot of capital, so he started serving. He actually opened up a little outside restaurant in his front yard, and and he got away with that for about a year before he got shut down. He would just open it on Friday and Sunday night. Saturday night was date night with his wife, so he didn't open on Saturday night, but it was open 2 days a week. And then from there, he was able, and I won't go into a lot of detail of his story, but he was able to actually secure a very inexpensive lease in a rundown strip center. And it took him about a year or so, but he found out about RestaurantOwner.com, and he had zero previous experience running a restaurant or managing a business. And he learned about systems, and he learned about what a P&L was about. And he said, Jim, I learned all the basics from the website, and he is just tenacious with respect to, you can imagine his personality is such that is when he sees something that makes sense, he's tenacious in terms of implementing it and making it work. And he's very humble. He realizes what he doesn't know. And now he has 3 restaurants. All of them are doing over $3 to $4 million a year. His sales per square foot is off the charts. He was very successful in getting through COVID okay. And they're full service restaurants in Los Angeles that has some of the highest wage rates in the industry. So that's one of our biggest success stories.
Wow, great. You mentioned COVID. In the past couple of years, now that it's part of our lives, and it's certainly a part of restaurateurs' lives, how has your approach as kind of a consultant changed, if it has?
Well, it has. Chad, the restaurant business has always been hard, but now it's hard on steroids. As you can imagine, we have had to really pivot our offerings of what we talk about on RestaurantOwner.com from the standpoint of not only these are the 3 pillars: systems, business skills, and culture, but we also need to think about other ways to sell our products in terms of delivery, carry out, curbside, things of that nature. So the business model of many restaurants has really shifted here, so that they have many more sales channels, if you will. So that has been some of the biggest changes in terms of what we've been exposing our membership to, and also just about everything. Technology has touched everything in our business. I mean, the guest experience, different types of sales. So for an independent operator that has limited resources and limited staff, technology can be a huge challenge. So we are trying to, and we're still trying to get better at this, as identifying the types of technology that an independent operator can implement easily, that really integrates well with what else that they're doing, that gives them a real, that helps them compete with the chains, essentially. Okay. Mm-hmm. So that's another big part of what has happened in the last couple of years that has really impacted us, and also our members. Yeah.
What is the best reason to hire a consultant if you want to open your own restaurant? I mean, you've listed a million of them. What do you think is the best one?
In terms of hiring a consultant, a consultant's been through it so many times. Let me qualify that though. A good consultant. Okay, there really needs to be work on the front end to identify the qualifications, accomplishments, who they've helped in the past. But they can save a lot of obviously dumb mistakes. There's what I call, and I've heard this before from other people, a dumb tax, and that's when you make stupid decisions and you pay dearly for it. A good consultant can help you avoid a lot of those things.
You talked about how you have a big background in accounting that could have taken you in multiple different directions. What was it about the restaurant industry that was so appealing to you?
Well, it's extremely dynamic. It's a people business, and there's always something new. There's always something new to learn. You never ever get to the point where you know it all. Not even, in fact, not even close, Chad. Yeah. So from that standpoint, it was just it was very appealing to me personally. Yeah.
Your website has been around for more than 2 decades. Are there some milestones or specific time periods that maybe you're particularly proud of, and kind of the evolution of your business?
Yeah. We went through some real challenges back in 2008, 2009. We lost about probably 20% of our membership. And being able to bounce back from that, I think, was a real accomplishment. I'm trying to, I'll tell you what, we switched to back in 2004, we switched from our own makeshift, made from scratch website platform to a platform called MemberGate. And MemberGate is still out there today. And our business essentially tripled the moment we went on MemberGate. It had a lot of the bells and whistles that we'd always wanted to have on our existing website at that time. Search engine, it was optimized for search engines. Our rankings went up almost immediately. And so that was a milestone as well. So having the right website platform was very important to us. Yeah.
I have one last question for you, but first, I usually ask people how they can find more information about you, but I guess in your case, it's pretty self-explanatory.
It's all online. Yeah.
RestaurantOwner.com.
Yeah.
My last question for you is, do you have any favorite books or podcasts or things like that you've found valuable for your process or that you've just enjoyed?
Well, in terms of books, I really like John Maxwell for leadership. He's fabulous. Podcast. Oh boy, I'm just having kind of a momentary blank here on I do listen to podcasts. I'm having kind of a momentary blank.
Most people have a lot more books than they do podcasts.
Yeah.
So John Maxwell's a good one for you.
Maxwell, I read I also read books out of from our industry as well. I mean, my favorite book of all time is Danny Meyer's Setting the Table. Anybody that has customers or customer service, direct customer contact, that book is an absolute must. It's all about creating a culture of hospitality. And hospitality is that personal connection with your customers and even with your employees, which I think is the essence of success in business. I think it always has, because business is built on relationships, and it's all about building positive relationships and creating that personal connection with people.
Well, hey, Jim, thanks so much for sharing those recommendations with us and for sharing your time today. I really appreciate it. It's been great talking to you.
My pleasure, Chad. Great questions, and it's been a pleasure being here with you and your listeners.
Okay, thank you so much, Jim. So long, everybody.
Thanks for listening to the Top Business Leaders Show, powered by Rise25. Visit rise25.com to check out more episodes of the show and to learn more about how you can start your own podcast.